Yay!
Everybody, we are here. Let's give a huge round of applause for an amazing day three of the Democratic National Convention. I'm joined with Dr. Pickett. Dr. Pickett, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am well, my friend, and the one and only Angela Natalia Maxwell. Angela Max, how are you doing?
Hey!
Hey!
Conditioned hair, I'm sorry.
You know what? That freshly conditioned hair looks great. It looks great. And so let's start off. Angela. Yep, show it. You know what? Angela is here as a special invited guest to represent the pink and green nation of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Angela, what were your thoughts on tonight's presentation at the Democratic National Convention, specifically by tonight's keynote, Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris?
I was so moved. I was so moved by it. Started with the introduction. I didn't get through the introduction without being doing the ugly cry. It was amazing. And it was a perfect introduction for her. It gave us an opportunity to see her as a person, less of being a politician and more being a person, from being spoke by her sister and her daughter, her stepdaughter, and her niece. It gave us, it made her human, because a lot of times we don't see politics humans. And I think it really humanized her and really introduced her well. So I didn't even get through that without the ugly cry. But Kamala Harris came in, and she came to do
Angela,
what
you
she came
cried.
to
You
do.
were
And
crying throughout the speech.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I look crazy.
Wow.
Like, and I'm not even a crier. Like, it was just, it's the gravity of the, not for women, but especially for Black women. What I want to say about her nomination is that I always talk about on my different platforms how Black women are presented in media. I mean, we get presented in reality TV. We get presented in music videos or music, and we kind of have to be half naked to be listened to. And we have all of these different images. And what a lot of people don't realize, there are sections of this country where there are no Black people. So the only time they're introduced to Black women is what they see on TV, and all they know us to be is a Nene Leakes, which I don't have a problem with Nene Leakes. I love Nene Leakes, but I know that there are levels to Black women where there are people in the country who do not know that. Kamala Harris gives people an opportunity to see us as more than just actors and musicians and Beyonce and reality stars. She lets people see the intelligent, driven side of us. And I think that the imagery that she presents, imagery is a big thing, and imagery is important. This is the gravity of this moment for Black women in this country is not anything that we can measure. It's not. And I'm just so proud in this moment.
You know what, Angela? I have another question. Just, would you feel the same way if she was a member of Delta Sigma Theta?
Did what now?
Would you feel the same way if she was a member of Delta Sigma Theta?
Absolutely. What I just described.
I know. I was joking. I know you would.
No, but I do want other Greek women to hear me when I say this. Like, you're gonna hear a lot of crap from AKs because we're proud. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you have a member of your organization specifically, you're proud. But more than her being an AKA, this is a Black woman ascending to ranks we have never seen before and opening the door for all of us. She's going to open the door where there will be members of Delta Sigma Theta. I am convinced and fully persuaded that a Val Demings and Keisha Lance Bottoms is going to be in the cabinet because of Kamala.
That's right.
Okay, so don't get it twisted. This is a whole unity thing there, but she's going to kick a door in, and a whole lot of us are going to come through it, and that's the gravity of this situation. So yes, absolutely. I was actually prepared for Valdez, to be honest with you.
I know it. You know me. You know it wouldn't be me if I wouldn't ask that question. DeAndre, what are your thoughts on just, we always say the best for last. Let's just go right into it. What are your thoughts on, Senator Harris's speech?
Well, I'm going to say like Angie. I had that's why it took me just a little bit to come in real quick because I had to get myself together. I'm still looking glossy because of the fact that I sat there and was crying throughout. And it was not necessarily because, even though people who know me know I am a big crybaby, so that's very clear. But again, just to see literally who we are, we got a chance to see tonight who we are. And that's what I appreciated. Tonight, we saw us, not just HBCUs, not just Divide 9, but we saw us as Black people tonight in every aspect. And so when I tell you tonight, from the president to, and I saw where we've been and who we can be. And so tonight for me, I would say was probably the best night. Out of the 3 nights thus far, tonight for me was probably the best night. Again, just because of the fact that I saw who we were. Now, again, the one critique I would have is that at the very beginning, I don't understand why you threw that one little piece in again about the Republicans for Biden again. I don't know why you threw a little piece in. I don't know if that was because the guy who was running the sound messed it up. I don't know what happened. But you didn't have to throw that part about it in because, again, we had moved on from that. But outside of that, tonight really was an amazing experience.
It was. I agree. I think that it was I do not think the night as a whole beat last night yet. It did not for me. Kamala's speech, though, gave me everything I wanted it to give. And it really, in my opinion, truly did exactly what Angela said, portrayed the true spectrum of who we are as a people, as a community, as a village to the rest of America. Because I think it's very real when you talk about the fact that you have parts of the world, parts of this country, where there is Black representation. That's all they know. It's what they see on TV. And I that was a proud moment. The speech hit the high notes. It was classy. And I do agree and feel 100% that America should now have a much better view of who Kamala Harris is as a person. And I think what is a major, it unifies both of our leaders right now, Vice President Biden and future Vice President Harris, and that they have lost so much in the course of their lived lives. I know at one point it was talked about, when Joe Biden was a senator, he was one of the poorest senators, and that he came from a working class family and he did not have wealth. He didn't inherit wealth, and he worked his way up. That's a part of his story and a part of his background. And the fact that, Kamala Harris, born in Oakland to immigrant parents, they really do speak to the true nature of the American dream and the American identity. And tonight was very much about women voters and really trying to appeal to women voters, as it should have been with, Senator Harris being the vice presidential nominee. But I also really enjoyed the Democratic Party making a strong effort to appeal to our dreamers and to members of the Latino community who may be feeling disenfranchised by the efforts of the DNC. As in my opinion, they have not done the level of outreach they should have done to bring this community to the table.
But Zach, I also would say in that same regard, I believe in all of that. But I also do believe, I think that was all of that. But I also do believe that tonight they did put more emphasis on the issues. They really stuck to issue based and not as attack based. Tonight we heard about gun control and gun violence. We talked about what has been done to the marginalized, what has been done to Black communities, what has been done to brown communities. They really drove that position home tonight by making it very clear, like this is the time that we're living in. And, we've always had it, but because of the administration, it has now been escalated. And, we don't have, and I love the statement where she said, there's no vaccine for racism, And so tonight they drove the point home when we talked about this concept of the issues. And again, it's been a progressive movement as, last night. They really, again, began to drive the principles as it pertains to younger generation, and they were literally being issue based. Tonight, they focused on, and it was less about Donald Trump, and it was more so, this is why we need this administration. Hillary Clinton, she, gave her a couple of jabs. We said, listen, this is why we need this administration. Every Elizabeth Warren, every individual came back and said, yeah, we know what foolishness we have, but this is why we need this. And so the reason why I say I feel it was one of the best is because of the fact that it really drove home a real premise of what our issues are and how we need to address them.
I agree.
Touch on one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I do kind of want to touch on one thing that DeAndre said. I don't know if we disagree. Maybe we do, or maybe we don't. But I think it's important. Maybe not to focus on, but I do think it's important to point out as much as possible. Republicans who are for Joe Biden. I think this is different. I don't think this many that I'm aware of. This many Republicans have shown up to a Democratic convention and been like, you know what? We're messed up. And I think they also reach out and represent a segment of the Republican Party that don't want to go with Trump, but don't feel comfortable or feel like it's okay to go with Biden. I think they're pulling them in. So, hey, give them a mic. Hell, give them 30 minutes, because we need every vote, because it is okay. And there is a segment of the Republican Party that is looking for some justification to vote for Joe Biden. These voices are important. I think last night, and I know we're not talking about last night, but I think what Cindy McCain did last night was powerful. I think it was powerful because because the Republicans love John McCain, period. And to say, for Cindy McCain to be like, you know what, this is, in essence, she was saying, this is where my husband would have probably been on this side of the issue. I think it spoke to a segment of the Republican Party. So I do think it's important. I am with you that people who are far left and progressives probably aren't comfortable pointing out and focus to a lot of Republicans, but I hope that they see the long game and understand that there are segments, untapped segments that are open now that we can reach out and pull in, and for them to show up at the Democratic convention, this is like political suicide for them. So this is important. I don't think we should thumb our nose at that. This is a big deal. And so I appreciate it. I love to see it. I bring on some more. I want to see it. I hope Condoleezza Rice shows up because they love her. Like, bring it, So
you're on mute. You're on mute.
I hope Condoleezza Rice shows up. Condoleezza Rice is a real role model. I adore her. I agree with both of you. I agree, Angie. I do think that it's important for Americans to see the Republicans that are for Trump. And maybe, DeAndre, they might be doing it just because every night you don't know who you're going to get. And that might be kind of why we have that. And, LD is with it. I'm glad you're here. And Lorraine is with it. We do need every vote we can get. Hillary Clinton made a phenomenal point tonight when she talked about the millions of votes that she won by. She won by millions of votes, more than Donald Trump.
3 million votes.
That's right, 3 million. And when Donald Trump talks about being this silent majority, you are not the majority. The majority of voters did not vote for you. The majority of this country don't stand with you. The majority of people in this country don't support you. However, it is the Electoral College that matters, and it's the battleground states that really will decide this election. So many people also are very concerned about polls. Like, well, they had Hillary Clinton winning, and they share all this data. I'm not saying we should get comfortable with polls, but I do want to express that the polls weren't wrong. The polls weren't wrong. Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote by over 3 million, overwhelmingly won. So the polls were right. Joe Biden is unequivocally, undoubtedly going to win the popular vote again. It is highly unlikely that he will lose the Electoral College. When you look at the course of American history, there's only been 5 times in history that someone has won the Electoral College without the popular vote. It happened in the late 1800s, kind of back to back, in the same way that we had it with George Bush and now Donald Trump happening also kind of back to back. I think that the more we proceed forward, we need to have confidence, but we also need to proceed with caution so that we can get out there and we can get that vote there. Personally, I believe in the Electoral College because it is the foundation of our country. And if you're going to be a president, you have to be the president of all of America. And our president has to represent Mississippi with its 4 votes. In the same way that our president has to represent California with the way more votes, 54 votes, maybe even in the hundreds. Lamont, you live there. I know you may not be. Lamont's power is out, so we pray for you, brother. But if you're there, tell me how many electoral votes that you have. What did you guys think of the entertainment tonight? Did I miss Jennifer Hudson? Like, wasn't she supposed to sing tonight?
Yeah, I must have. I must have
thought she was
stepped out.
supposed to sing, but it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, I must have stepped out because I didn't see her.
Clearly, I didn't step out. She didn't sing. So I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what happened. So if Jennifer Hudson doesn't have COVID-19, she better give me an explanation as to what's going on.
Listen, is her name Corinthia?
It is. That is the one and only Corinthia Anderson.
Corinthia, listen, you my girl. Listen, you've been with us since Monday. I appreciate your life right now. She didn't sing where, Melissa?
Right. Where?
Oh, we missed it.
Who did that?
All 3 of us missed it.
We were here. Well, Melissa, was it good? Did she sing well?
They said she was the headliner. She sung "The Change Gonna Come." So my silent brother just told me. He said she was the headliner. Okay, I guess she did the beginning. I guess she did early on. I'm no, they said she was the last performance. Okay,
I'll tell you where she should have been. She should have been up there instead of Billie Eilish. Don't nobody want to see Billie Eilish?
No, first of all, stop that. What they should have done was they should have did it real churchy. They should have did it
important tonight.
They should have done it real churchy, and they should have gave her a selection, a sermonic selection before Kamala gave her speech, and she should have came right before Kamala and had a sermonic selection. But again, I will say Zach, listen. The young lady. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Billie. I don't really know about her. The only Billie I know is Billie Holiday, but I will say that the song, you have to go and look at. Listen, you got to go look at the verbiage. Again, I don't agree with. I didn't really like John Legend yesterday. I don't know why he was there, but I'm not. And John Legend from Ohio is great, but she appeared at the end of the day. We can't have everybody. We've had. There's always got to have at least one of them now, Zachary.
What was Billie talking about? What was Billie even singing about?
So the song was called "My Future."
I have to say,
go ahead, Angie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have to let you know, just from pop culture. I don't know if I'm the only one here with a teenager, but my son is 15, and Billie Eilish is big in their generation. So we're talking about new voters at this point. Billie Eilish or whatever is a superstar. She's like the new Taylor Swift, but a lot of people are. And also she's activist. She's not just a pop star, right? So at her concerts, you register to vote. At her concert, she takes out time to talk about the environment and talk about how young people do this and do that. She's an important voice to new voters. And and I think from what I've been seeing on MSNBC, because I've been torturing myself with election coverage, that Joe Biden is struggling with young voters, which I'm not really understanding, but he is. And so you have to pull in those voices like Billie Eilish. It was important for her to be there tonight, if you know how important she is to the current pop culture.
Yeah, I know her. I know her songs, Bab. I know her. I do not like her. I do not like her look. I know her. I just don't like her. And I don't think that she's a very talented singer, but she did win out the Grammys, and that pissed me off.
She's not talking to us.
And I like the song. It was what it was. But I have a question. But Zach, can I actually ask Angie a question? Yeah. Because she just said something. You just said something that actually just to kind of just spark me, because you said you have a teenager. You said a 15-year-old, correct? So right now,
yes.
there, even though your 15-year-old cannot necessarily vote, but they are a voice right now. I'm curious to know, like, is your young? I'm sorry, you have a son or daughter?
I was yes.
She has a son.
So okay, even more interesting. Like, so one, did your son watch? And then two, what are their feelings about what they're hearing from this? Because they're going to, because technically the next vice president, when Kamala is elected, they'll be voting. Because she'll be the next, they'll be the next crew voting. So what are they hearing? What are they seeing? Because technically, this is now going to be about them. So are they saying anything? What are they hearing? What are we hearing from them?
Well, I think we'd be surprised if we start listening to young people about what they think about this election. I did have my son in here watching. He used to work night of it, but he wanted me to pull him in for the important stuff. And so he did listen to Michelle Obama. He did listen to Bernie Sanders, which to their generation, they know who that guy is. You know what I mean? He did come in tonight to listen to Kamala Harris. Of course, he listened to Barack Obama because he knows him. That's the first president that he's really, 8 years ago, my son was 7 when he was nominated, or well, it's longer than that now. He was young when Barack Obama was, so that's the times president, right? I think if we listen to this younger generation, they're very common sense. I think they have a whole lot more sense than we give them credit for. And I think that they're pretty aware about what's happening with Donald Trump. I don't think they take him seriously at all. I think they think it's a joke. I know my son does. And they also understand the midterms though, which is interesting. Because my son's like, well, you really kind of need to be worried about the Senate, but yeah, this presidential election is cool. You know what I mean? And for him to say that, there are a lot of adults who don't understand it, right? So I think this generation is paying attention a whole lot more than we give them credit for. Like I told you, Billie Eilish is registering people to vote at her concert. You don't have to do that. Like that's not anything she has to focus on. But I mean, her core group is 15 to 19. Most of them can't even vote, and she's taking moments to talk about it. So I think the younger generation is really in tune. I think they're watching us, and I think that they see the show that Donald Trump is. Like they know what's going on. We act like we don't know what's going on, but they know what's going on.
I'm going to do some research on Billie and her activism, because if these, I'm going to do more research on that to give her more props. That's a big deal. I do support that. I do believe that it's important for our celebrities to use what they've been given, their platform, to educate young people. So I'm really proud of that. I have another, just a thought for you too, also for you guys, how we had, a captivated audience here.
Presidential year. She was doing it before its presidential year.
Wow. Which is many celebrities haven't been doing. But do you think because your son and people of his generation were born and lived through President Obama's tenure, do you think that has made them feel as though it is normal to have Black leadership in the White House, and that maybe they take that for granted?
Will, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the younger generation will. I don't think it's a bad thing. However, I'm concerned because I think they'll come out to vote. I remember when I first started voting, I voted religiously, right? It's the older cronies that we have to worry about. It's the people who are stuck in their ways, I think, that we have to worry about more. Like you said, by the time my son comes up and the kids in his generation, the kids we're excited about person of color. Going to be like, what do you mean? I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. Like that's what America looks like. You know what I'm saying? It's a new day for them. And so I'm more concerned about people our age who just set in their ways. I mean, the negative things that have been said about Kamala Harris over last week, they didn't come from young people. Those things came from people that were our age and older. You know what I'm saying? So it's us who's not used to change, not willing to accept, change. The younger generation, they just roll with it, just like we did when we were their age. We roll with it, So I'm not worried about them at all. I think they're going to bring on some of the more multicultural leadership, and it's gonna be nothing for them.
So of course, as you know, we every night we do what was the best of the night and what needed to be better or improved, and then we give the DNC an actual grade for the night. So I want to know, guys, from everybody out there, what was the best? And there were two tough. There's a lot that it's a lot for the best. What needs to be improved, and what is tonight's overall grade? Let's start off with what needed. Let's just go and save the best for last. What tonight needed to be improved to give everybody a little bit of think time? I will say that I really feel as though an area for improvement could have been, again, ensuring a higher level of engagement. I did not enjoy, in addition to Billy singing the Prince Royce performance. And it wasn't that the performance was bad. It's just that I feel like the DNC could have capitalized on that moment better to highlight and amplify the voices of the Latino community. We could have had him perform. We could have heard his music. We could have given a spotlight to this Puerto Rican artist, but we could have also been showing images that would resonate with that community and also resonate with America. Again, I think that it is a historic shame that immigrant children are being kept in cages, that American citizens, right, are in cages right now. You may have been brought to America or born in America to parents that lack citizenship. Your family could have been detained by ICE, and you are an American citizen in a cage. You are an American citizen now lost in the foster system. This is, to me, one of the biggest tragedies of the Trump administration, and that needs to be highlighted. When I think about what we're going to see next week for the Republican National Convention, I know we're going to see a lot of hate. I know they are going to play on the fear that builds up their base because they did it in 2016. I know they're going to do it again, and they're going to go harder than ever before. We have all seen the commercials of the little old lady phone trying to call 911 because, it's a scary black man with an assault rifle and getting ready to come in our house and rob and kill her and probably rape her too, according to Donald Trump. And in the suburbs, and he lived next door in the house right by her in the same suburbs that she lived in. So this scary narrative of hate and lies that the Trump administration is perpetuating is there. We have to combat that, and a lot of hope and a lot of optimism and a lot of reminding us of the commonalities we share is great, but we also have a whole lot to be afraid of. American democracy is on the precipice of coming to an absolute conclusion when the United States Postal Service is being attacked, when you want to have fewer voters than ever before in a democracy. We are on the verge of extinction as a nation. We need to hear more of that, in my opinion, and tonight would have been a great chance to do it. So that, to me, is what I really wish could have been better.
Yeah. I would agree to a degree. I slightly disagree in the sense of this. I agree that was one of the areas, I think we could have had, they could have done, they could have done a better job, I think, with whom who presented. But the only reason why I feel as if maybe not seeing the issue especially with the Latino community, I don't necessarily know if I wanted to see that because of this particular reason. Number one, one of the things I don't want to become our narrative is I don't want us to become to continue to put the poster child syndrome thing up, because I don't want us to have to keep dwelling in our pain, our struggle, more so deal with our resilience. At the end of the day, we don't have to keep putting the oppressors, what the oppressor has done to us to draw a point. Sometimes you have to show your oppressor that you're still resilient, even in the midst of their ability to act as if they are the oppressor. And so for me, I'm not fully sure that I wanted to see children in cages. I don't want to see, I'm not sure if I wanted to still see that, because at the end of the day, we know what it is. We're very clear what it is. What I think, however,
we don't know. We don't know.
We do know because we've seen it. I'm not saying we're very clear. We do know what
you know.
No. We know,
but people in America are looking away. They're turning their eyes.
It doesn't mean they don't know. So let's be very clear. There's a difference between not knowing and not addressing or not acknowledging it. So it's not the fact they don't know, it's not acknowledged. So what I think needs to happen is we have to be very clear about showing the oppressor that we still feel that we're oppressed. At the end of the day, we're talking about hope. And we're talking because President Obama clearly said it tonight. He said they're banking on us utilizing the things that have been holding us down, the things that we feel are they're holding our votes. They're using these narratives. We're banking on young people to not vote because we're not talking about college, and we're not talking about certain areas of the environment. They're utilizing the narrative that they believe that the Bernie Sanders people are not going to vote because of this. They're using that against us. And so I'm not about using the oppressor to drive our point. What I am about using is what we know is we see it. We get it. We know what you're doing. It is our job to talk about how do we come from it? How are we resilient? We are resilient people. How do you make America great again? You get back to the principles that made us great by being a resilient people, by being a people who understand at the end of the day, we are above this hatred. We are above this ignorance. Again, there is no vaccine for racism, but we know racism exists. So tonight, I don't agree with the fact that they should have shown more. What I do agree with is the fact that we could have done a better job with positioning some of our points. And so that's just, so I agree, like I said, I agree with you, but then I also kind of like,
Angie, what do you think? Because I don't agree with DeAndre. I don't care what, like I know y'all like, speak a word.
What I'm gonna say it might be a little.
Go ahead and say
it. What I'm gonna say is probably gonna be a little shocking to y'all. While I appreciate the outreach and that the DNC has done to minorities, I see a lot of it and I'm concerned about alienation. So far, it's been all about women, which I'm all about it. It's been all about Black and brown and Latina, and white men and white women are still very important to the DNC. And I'm hoping in the back of my mind, and y'all can let me know like if you think I'm way off base here, but I'm hoping in the back of my mind that while there's such an reach for minorities by the DNC this week, that they aren't alienating subconsciously white people. Because, of course, progressive white people are going to be all about minorities and all about equality and everything. However, they don't need to feel like, okay, we're not important because there's zero stress. There's no, we're not in the videos of the people clapping. All you saw was Hispanics and Black people. You know what I'm saying? And we're not in any of these videos and, all of this stuff. And so I'm hoping, and I could be completely off base. But it crossed my mind tonight as I was watching it. I was like, this is the third night that I watched it from beginning to end. And while I do see the outreach for diversity, I'm wondering what's kind of happening in the background with white people. Like, how are they feeling? The white people that are in the Democratic Party who vote Democratic, who are progressives, who do, get out there and march, and who do get out online. Like, are they feeling left out? So I'm a bit concerned. But I could be off base. Like I said, I could be wrong. But that's something that crossed my mind, and I think that we need that. That should probably be paid attention to. But that's
a good point.
No, I think that you're right, and that's why this is the thing. I firmly believe that, and this is I will tell you why the DNC is doing what it's doing. Now, I agree with you guys as well. I agree, Cynthia. To a certain extent, I have to say I agree, Lamont. I know exactly what you're saying there. It is a balancing act. The DNC, they're probably at a point where they feel like that most white voters are pretty much like decided where they're going to go. And this will not be a tipping point for them. But they know that anytime we have had a Democratic candidate win the presidency, Black turnout has been at 60% or higher. Minority turnout has been at 60% or higher. They know that. I've seen the demographics. I'll actually post it tonight. I took a picture of it on MSNBC. I think it was maybe Thursday or Friday last week, and I'll post it on my Facebook stories and my Instagram stories so you guys can see the polls, because it showed when Kerry lost, as did Hillary Clinton, because of low turnout for minority voters. And so I think they know that, and they know that they have to cater to the demographics that will bring out the support. and going back, I agree. I know that, a gentleman said earlier that, it's about don't want to traumatize the Latino, because I know a lot of people are offended by Latinx, the Latino community. They don't want to be. This is why I say you have to show the kids in cages. DeAndre, I still believe that people, this is happening, but it's not present every day. Like, I'll give you an example right now, something that's really bothering me. You have in South Georgia that young man, Andrew, we talked about when you were on the live cast, that young man who shot back at that truck in self-defense. He is still in jail. He has not been released. He is still being in prison in South Georgia. You have just last week, 2 people in Georgia were killed by police, 2 black people. One of them, a 60-year-old man, killed for a routine traffic stop, not even a violation, just simply a stop. He was killed. Black people are being killed by the police right now in America at a rapid rate, and guess what? Very little news coverage is being given to it because the media controls the locals that controls that. There's a responsibility to put these horrors right there at the forefront of the American people and make them realize what's really at stake. Donald Trump for 4 more years will result in more police officers who kill innocent black lives being found not guilty or even arrested, like what you had with the Republican Attorney General and Governor in Kentucky. Americans have to know that. You can't forget, because we don't see it, we think it doesn't exist. It does. When we don't see children in cages, when we don't see families being ripped apart, we would say it's not happening. And I'm going to tell you, the Joe Biden's poll numbers in the Latino community are not what they should be. I'm stunned that Latinos are showing a level of apathy towards the election that they're showing, because Donald Trump wants you out of the country, but he does a good job of messaging to make you think that he's not talking about you. He's talking about someone else, someone that you don't like, someone that you don't agree with. So when Donald Trump targets like black people, he is trying to talk to a certain type of black person. And there are black people out there, like, rest Herman Cain. That's all I can say. Just rest Herman Cain. Can't say rest and nothing else, but just rest Herman, rest. He targets and says to people like Herman Cain, to people like Candace Owens, he's speaking to you, but when he talks about black people, talks about not wanting black people and people in the suburbs, it's not you. I'm talking about those other blacks, the blacks that you don't like. That's a part of his rhetoric, and it works so well.
Right.
The DNC has to counter that. I'll give one last point, and I'll stop. Think about 2016's convention. I watched that convention so carefully. And when I tell you Hillary Clinton's message of hope and continuing the legacy of hope and making America even better, it was so solid. Her platform was so brilliantly developed. I not to knock the current platform, but Hillary's platform was airtight. That DNC was all about hope, and it did not work. The very next week, Donald Trump rolled out hate on top of hate on top of hate. Fear, 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 take away your guns. Immigrants gonna rape your wife. They're gonna kidnap your kids. We gotta build this wall. And it worked. Hope was attacked in 2018 and 2012, and it worked then. It didn't work in 2016. The DNC has to use a new strategy and appeal to America's sentiment and what is relevant right now. And I hate to tell you this, but we should be afraid, and fear may be a tactic that we need to employ. I don't even want to know what Lamont's going to say, because I know it's not supportive of what I just said. I'm done. Carry on. I guess, DeAndre, I know you had a...
I'm actually just reading. Okay. So all I'm gonna say is this. Again, to that, I agree to a degree. I'm gonna state it like this, because this is the best way I can think of it. Because you're making reference that we have to keep it at the forefront. You use some of the examples and so forth and so forth. Let me try to put it into this concept and make it in 30 seconds or less. I think what we are doing is I did have a message of hope. I'll leave that alone for right now. I think what we are doing is we are continuously talking about the scab of a nation, and we're not talking about the wound of the nation. At the end of the day, we're dealing with the wounds of the nation. And I think when we're having this conversation about putting the putting these things on the forefront, those aren't the wounds. The acts we know about. I think putting these things out there is just continuously putting these scabs to cover up the wound, and we're not addressing the wound, because I think what happens is if we continue to keep just putting stuff out there, it at least puts it in the forefront, but yet we're still not at the end of the day dealing with the wound. The wound is the individual who keeps causing the pain. The pain keeps getting caused. So we're, eventually the scab's got, you're going to keep picking at that scab, but yet the wound is not healing. And so what we have to do is, again, it goes back to what President Obama said. What we have to do is that we have to begin to eliminate the things that are hurting the wound so that we can heal. I don't think that continuously putting things in forefront to block the healing process is going to make it work. The healing process doesn't happen by keep reminding somebody of why they're being hurt. I know I've been hurt. I know we're going through. What I need to now do is come up with a way to now work towards making sure I heal. That's the part. And that's what I want us to get to. At the end of the day, we know the cases are there. I know what has been happening to my ancestors. I know what happened now. What I have to do is I have to create somehow a way to build the healing process. And so for me, I don't know if I'm still for the whole, we know it. Again, that's not
we cannot heal. We have no hope of healing if Joe Biden isn't elected.
That's at the end of the day, that is where that should be the narrative. That should be the narrative. The narrative is, at the end of the day, this is where we are. This is where we need to be. That's the narrative. We don't need to add all these extras and all these others. That's the narrative. Kamala Harris gave it tonight. Hopefully Biden will do it tomorrow. He's going to say like 12,000 things off the cuff. We don't know what the hell he's going to say tomorrow. He might change this. He might be in the middle of his speech and then start saying later. So we don't know what he's going to say tomorrow. But at the end of the day,
he might say he's running for Senate.
We just know that we have a wound. And right now, Donald Trump is picking at the wound. And it's our job to stop the thing that keeps hurting us. And right now, the RNC and Donald Trump is the thing that's hurting us.
Real quick, what was the highlight? Really, it's a tough one tonight between, Kamala's speech, Barack's speech. What was the highlight of the night? What was the best?
I'm going to save it for Angie. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Uh-oh.
Angie, what was the best?
Oh, I think she
froze.
Okay, the whole night or just?
Yeah, of tonight. What was the highlight? What was your one highlight of the night? You got to make some hard choices.
Tonight for me, of course, I'm to give, just the magic of the moment that was Kamala Harris. But tonight for me, the best speech was Clinton.
It was who?
I think Hillary just came. She was like, she had this tone of, I told you. I kind of told you, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She had this tone. I kind of told you what happened. Now you have 4 years of seeing what's going to happen. Now I'm here to tell you again. And she relaxed, stressed out. She's like, look, this is where we are. And, yeah, okay, goodbye. So I was here for.
Yeah, I agree. Hillary's speech was great. The only thing to me, like, I read her book when it came out shortly after the election. So the whole darn book was "I told you so," and let me tell you what's going to happen. It was so beautifully. It was the read of life. That book was nothing but attack and read, and like, she ripped everybody apart. I loved it. It was great. Then she did the same thing on her Hulu documentary. DeAndre, for you, what was the highlight? You do, Angie.
It's amazing. It's
amazing. Know what? Maybe I will. You know what? I was gonna say I'll put it in the mail for you, but I downloaded it on my iPad. But I will say this: the book on tape The audiobook, excellent. It's Hillary herself reading it. She has such a good voice on tape, so much better than what you hear her as a speaker, because it just works. It's just so beautifully, it flows. I'm someone who listens to I listen to a lot of books on tape and podcasting. So I love it. I firmly recommend the book on tape. DeAndre, what's that highlight?
Again, I think I'm with Angie, with Hillary.
Okay.
She sat there in that white pantsuit, reminding y'all, 4 years ago,
She did.
I was in this white pantsuit 4 years ago. I spoke to y'all 4 years ago in my white pantsuit and told y'all, and I mean, but I loved. But one of the things that Zachary, I was watching on your live is, I was watching the comments. I'm kind of mad that Ansari was not here tonight. I'm like, you really,
Ansari was calling you out. We want you here.
I'm like, I was mad because I was hoping he was gonna come because of the fact that tonight,
I was looking forward to him.
Yeah. Even though, yes, she could have gone, but again, one of the things that I've been loving that the women, particularly, and many of them have been doing throughout this, because we know next week's rhetoric. We know they're going to become angry. They're going to be combative, and again, President Obama said it. They want us to be that. So, First Lady Obama, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, a lot of these women, they gave their jabs, they gave their shade, and then they turned around and said, but we're gonna do this classy. We're classy. We're gonna have our pearls on. We're gonna do this classy, and I appreciated it. It really wasn't so. But Hillary sat in that chair. I can only imagine. I was curious if her legs were crossed. I wanted to see with her legs crossed. Did she have a cocktail next to her? Like, I'm gonna get, I wanted to know, but
I believe that Hillary probably had a glass of wine right there, and she was taking her sips in between, and it was probably a glass of white wine just in case she spilled some. She's a little bit older now on that white pantsuit.
Oh, I'm sorry, that tribute, the women's movement tribute that they did,
yes,
that was absolutely amazing. When I say that there was absolutely amazing.
So I will have to say that the President Obama's speech was.
I wanted. I was gonna say, for me, I think that we could have gotten. I was expecting a little bit more Kamala Harris, because she's a fiery woman. I was like introduced to her on the Senate side of it when she was cross-examining these people. The Kavanaugh cross-examination was the stuff of legends. The Kavanaugh cross-examination was him and the guy from Alabama. What was his name? They used to be something, but now he's not.
Oh, Jeff Sessions.
She cross-examined the hell out of them, and I was like, "This lady is it." And I wanted to see that fire in her tonight. Yes, I really wanted to see the fire in her tonight. I wanted her.
It's not time.
And read.
Yeah, she has to hold it.
But I think that there is a campaign for her to be softer, because there are a lot of men who are maybe intimidated by her or like her or something. So she gave us a softer version of herself tonight, and that may be a strategy. But I really wanted to see that fire, and that I'm here for it, and I'm here to play. And I think we got a softer version of her. And I enjoyed the speech, but I thought there would be more fire to it. I did.
And she has to see Hillary's documentary. They're probably going to explain a lot of some of what she did. You're going to see in there, even Hillary had to combat a lot of that, even in a lot of her work,
and how it has to be. So one thing, like I said, Angela Corinthia, I don't know if you know her from college. That's one of your sorority sisters, went to Valley, and then Anzari is a alpha from Valley as well. And so one thing that I can say, like, I really do kind of wish Anzari was here, because Anzari actually was not a fan of Kamala's nomination, and he and I went back and forth. He literally said, "Why don't you unfriend me on my post?" And I said, "I'm gonna unfriend you if you say something bad about Kamala." So he said that tonight he really liked Kamala's presentation as well. I would like to know if it was because she was softer and that appealed more to his sentiments of a female leader. I think, and Zari, I would love to have that conversation with him because, again, Sorrenti and I both know him, so we know him. So I think he would be a good person to probe about that. I will say that I want to I'm going to write this up at some point. I was thinking about it when I went back and watched Kamala's examination of Kavanaugh and him when he started crying. And then I don't know if you guys remember, if you've seen recently when Clarence Thomas was examined just as hard by Joe Biden back in the 90s when he was nominated for Supreme Court Justice. And they railed into him and ripped into him about that pubic hair on a can of Coca-Cola. Okay? And let me tell you something. He was great. I'm not saying that Anita was lying about that pubic hair, but that he held it together and he did not cry. He wanted to cry. His wife cried. The way they hit him, I mean, they wanted to ruin this man's life, and he held it together. So it gave me, when I saw Kavanaugh break down and cry for actually doing what may have very well been rape and being accused of rape, and then seeing a harsher examination of Clarence Thomas for sexual harassment and him not cry and break down, it gave me a newfound respect for him, and I can honestly say that's very hard to do. We didn't have any respect for Justice Clarence Thomas. I guess my highlight would be, again, I'm going to go back to the Barack Obama speech, and I'm going to pull out sections. DeAndre, I'm going to use that, dissect it. It's a lot of points in it, but I'm going to still give the night to Kamala because I feel like she gave America exactly what America needed to see from her. And so that's what I'm going to have to give. Last thing, give it a grade. Angie, what's tonight's grade?
For me?
Yes. What is your grade?
I'm sorry. I can't hear. Oh, for tonight?
Yes.
Overall, I give it a B plus. And I don't know why I can't just really get into the A thing. It's just, I think this whole virtual thing is difficult for me to kind of still wrap my arms around. I think they're doing the very best with what they have. I was living for Kerry. I don't know who did their hair tonight, but I love me some Kerry Washington. So I was living for Kerry Washington tonight. She didn't give us our
her makeup was great.
I was here for that. I did enjoy all of the speeches. I thought Nancy Pelosi did not come to play, and I enjoyed Elizabeth Warren, and of course Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. It was a good night. It was a historic night, and I think they did a really, really great job. They tried to squeeze as much as they could into those 2 hours, and I promise you, somebody was squeezing because they were squeezing everything in that thing. So I look forward to tomorrow night. And Mike Pence could never.
Mike Pence couldn't, and neither could those two raisins in white milk. And neither could those two raisins swimming in white milk. Right. So, DeAndre, tell us what is your grade?
So, first of all, I'm very irritated right now, and it's already coming at the last minute. I don't know where you've been. Right. I don't know what made you decide to come in the end. We were waiting on you, and now we about to get off this thing, and you sat here and come on the end, and then you calling out folk in your come in. Really? But I'm like, dog. I'm with Angie, B plus. It really was B plus for me. Honestly, I done it, and for every reason. Again, being that at the end of the day, I've been, I've been to one, I've been to two, and and because I've been to them, I miss the excitement of it all. You know, I will say I love the fact that she was in a position to where the setup tonight for both of them made it kind of gave that convention feel a little bit. So I will say I love that portion. But again, I just hate the fact that, you know, we 3 days in, they still can't get some of the technology right. So, but B plus.
So I'm gonna have to say, guys, this is the first night.
If you give it an A again, I swear I'm gonna come and to your house and slap you. If you give it an A again, I promise you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. This is the first night that the whole panel has been in agreement. It was a B plus night. Okay. It did not have the high quality of production and organization of last night. Mm-hmm. But the speeches, again, just like night one, were strong and they carried it forward. But it was not an A, but it was a B plus. So I think that's great that we're all in agreement with that. Thank you both for joining. Can't wait for tomorrow. DeAndre, you got to think about, you know, I know this is a heavy, I have to be up in the morning at 7:30 because I have an 8 o'clock, I have calls in the morning for work starting at 8. So I got to be up at 7:30. But I think we need to do this for the RNC too, my friend. I think the world needs to hear.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Yeah.
Oh, I want to do that. I want to do the RNC thing. I can't wait because I'm slicing and dicing. Slice and
That's right. You know what? I'm gonna get. Yeah, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna get like a little. We're gonna get like a little flyer made. So we're gonna get our little pictures on a flyer, and we're gonna be ready for RNC, and we're gonna let the Republicans know these 3 black faces are coming. We ready to go. So good night, everybody, and I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place.